Hello and welcome to Verily Voice Message While You Were Out. This is Mary Rose Somarriba and Maggie Brady from Verily Magazine, and we're in Cleveland.
Hi, Mary Rose.
Hi, Maggie. This is an interesting week of news. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these because there's some very thought-provoking stories this week. We'll start off with one coming out. It's horrible news, but it is something that we as a culture are going to have to are encountering now. Well, let's just jump into it. The Euphoria actor
Jacob Elordi. He is the latest celebrity to be targeted with pornographic deep fakes. A video of Jacob has been circulating showing him in sexual situations, but it's not him. It's his face stolen and then pasted onto the body of a video from OnlyFans. The OnlyFans creator whose video is being used was just 17 years old, he says, when the video was taken. So he's being victimized by this too, not just Jacob, the TV star. More than 3 million people have viewed the video as of late Monday. This is a problem that X has confronted before, most recently with Taylor Swift. Her deepfakes were circulating on the platform. They are taking them down, but it's basically impossible to control the spread of these videos on social media. It's so abusive and exploitive that people will do this to somebody who has not consented.
I'm really disturbed when I hear these stories, especially involving minors, and it's very sad. If he's under the age of 18 and was used in a video for commercial use, then it is by definition sex trafficking. If it has force, fraud, or coercion, or someone who's a minor, and it's a set piece of sexual commercial content, then it is by definition trafficking. So much of research has shown great amounts of abuse and great amounts of trafficking have led people into the sex industry. Even if they say that they willingly participate over the age of 18, many of them were brought in under the age of 18. And when they first started either stripping or recording or in selling sex even, those things mean that they entered in with trafficking. A global survey showed, I think, as many as 90% of people surveyed say they want to leave the industry, and it's difficult. So anyway, that's a sidebar, but it comes to mind because it's said at the end of one of these news stories, NBC News. It says adult content creators told NBC News in June that it had been increasingly harder for them to thrive on X while pornographic scams proliferate on the platform. But I have to say, if there's one silver lining from this horrible AI porn trend, it would be that real people find ways to provide for themselves that don't objectify themselves.
Now, I hate that terminology. It's a pornographic scam, so it's making me harder to do my porn that's not a scam. Like, this is not a scam. This is sexual abuse. Like, nobody is being hoodwinked here. This is just exploitation, period.
Also in that article by NBC News, it quoted the policy that X has against sharing manipulative content. But it also says it disallows content that, quote, sexualizes an individual without their consent, end quote. And is that a problem? Yeah, it pretty much is everywhere. And while this deepfake kind of situation reveals when it's without someone's consent is even more problematic, but even with someone's quote unquote consent, or even just throughout all the media with all the sexualizing, we have a large problem culturally here. HBO sexualizes its own actors in the Euphoria show. You just need to read the plot summary to be stunned. So if we want to reduce these abuses, we need to look at ourselves, and we need to reduce our objectifying carbon footprint. And we've written about that a long time at Verily. It's just a culture-wide problem, but this is a particular ugly manifestation of that. I've actually enjoyed this beep because it was hard to make some transitions, but now we can just go right along.
Right.
It's like going on to your next voice message. For those of you who remember the day when you'd have a voice recording at home, collecting your voicemail. Next, we have something coming out of Tokyo.
Japan has a serious problem with population. Birth rates are plummeting, and the government has gotten involved with trying to help couples in Tokyo meet each other and fall in love and get married and hopefully have some babies. They have a dating app test program called Tokyo Futari Story, which uses AI to match people. What could go wrong with that? This is a government program, so you have to submit your tax forms verifying your annual income, and you get an official certificate of single status. So you are not trying to, this is totally above board. Submit your ID documents so you prove who you are. You're not faking. And then you take a diagnostic test so the app can learn about what you value and what you're looking for. And then you're also supposed to sign a pledge promising you're serious about finding a marriage partner and not just a casual relationship. So, I mean, it kind of sounds like an app that when I was dating, I would have been super interested in. But usually these government programs, no developed country has figured out a way to actually get people marrying and having families. This is a story throughout the developed world, Europe, the rest of Asia, even starting to be an issue in the United States as well, where people are just not getting married as often, and even if they don't get married, or even if they do, they're just not having as many kids. So I hope Japan has success with this app idea, but I guess time will tell.
I mean, for years we've known that culturally, countries trying to use incentives to raise their birth rates have failed. I remember Jonathan Last in 2013, so it's been 10 years more, wrote a book called What to Expect When No One's Expecting, and he detailed all of the failures, many of them comical, of different countries' attempts to sweeten the deal of marriage for people. I mean, it's sad. It's sad because, it is going to have some repercussions when countries don't have a replacement birth rate. Different cultures will struggle. It's fascinating, though, because hearing this matchmaking, AI generated values connecting, it makes me think of arranged marriages, which, surprisingly for some cultures, surprisingly to our Western perspectives, do work sometimes. So this time will tell. What does this do? Is this going to be helpful or not? I know a lot of young people struggling dating today, and maybe that might be something attractive.
Right. I mean, some young people, they don't have, the network of extended families to put them together. And so
that would be definitely preferred.
Right. Yeah. So this is the alternative to an arranged marriage, is kind of a, quote unquote arranged. I'm not saying that we should line everybody up and take a number and that's who you're with, but sometimes adding, a neutral third party to finding somebody can just make things a little bit easier.
Yeah. I mean, and that also, there's a lot of good books on this. The one more recent one just published in March by Tim Carney is called Family Unfriendly: How Our Culture Made Raising Kids Much Harder Than It Needs to Be. Now, this is more about America, but it basically, it's just detailing how we've gotten to a problem where children are much more expensive than they used to be. We overparent and all sorts of things where in past generations that wasn't that hard. So anyway, I think that part of the challenge is convincing people to even value marriage anymore, which is sad. Young people, maybe, who haven't seen it work out in their own lives or have gotten used to the media, showing them all sorts of glamorous depictions of fancy-free, no-commitment relationships. So I don't know how exactly prevalent those are in Japanese culture, but it definitely is a challenge out here.
100%.
Okay. Next, the Surgeon General. What a fascinating discovery he made.
The U.S. Surgeon General feels that there should be a warning label on social media. U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy told ABC News that mental health is the defining public health challenge of our time. He says, we're living in the middle of a youth mental health crisis, and social media has emerged as an important contributor to that youth mental health crisis. So making social media safer for our kids, warning kids and parents about the harms associated with social media is urgent. Vivek Murthy, a few years ago, had a book called Together, The Healing Power of Human Connection. He has been thinking about this problem of social media and mental health for quite some time. So he is not coming out of the blue with this. There's quite a bit of data to support him. Another recent book called The Anxious Generation, which I interviewed
the lead researcher of
yes.
that book that was authored by Jonathan Haidt.
They really bring the receipts to show social media and smartphones together are a toxic combination for kids. The U.S. Surgeon General suggests that a warning label would be appropriate, since 95% of adolescents are on social media.
Yeah, informed.
Right.
Informed consent. Who knows what that'll do? I mean, I don't think it's a bad start, but I think, again, a lot of us are addicted to our own smartphones. I hear a lot about parents being addicted to smartphones, and then their kids think, oh, whatever. And the parents find it harder to dial back the exposure that they've already given their child permission to do. And it just shocked me when you said 95% of young adolescents on social media, because it didn't exist when I was that age. So I just can't even imagine just what this is doing. We already know the mental health crisis is out there, especially for girls, young girls, young women, with all the negative imagery, with all the objectifying imagery or the filters, unrealistic standards of beauty. And that's something we really try to combat at Verily, since we don't Photoshop in our imagery. It's a real uphill battle to combat that. So you just have to really put good boundaries. But it's really foolish, I think, for parents to think that adolescents can put their own boundaries up here, because this is addictive. Their brains are still forming. They need the parents to put up boundaries.
Yeah, these are designed to be powerful, to work like a drug, extremely powerful to keep you scrolling and keep you enmeshed.
If there's a way to put the pressure on parents, or say, hey, parents, blame us, the government, say like, hey, we can't expose you to this, because the parents have a lot of pressure from their kids too, but for social inclusion and all that. But also schools, though. More and more I'm hearing about high schools or even middle schools having kids show, look at the syllabus on this thing, and you need to have some kind of electronic device, a smartphone or a Chromebook or something, but you have to be on a screen in order to get the information you need. This is basically training adolescents to keep going back to the screen. And I think that's a problem. We could involve schools more too. Maybe the Department of Education should talk with the Surgeon General, because I don't know how much this is happening all over, but I've definitely heard of schools locally where they say, oh, the coach, the extracurriculars, the syllabus of classes, you have to go back to your smartphone to check something, to just participate in these activities. And that's not helpful.
I did see where California Governor Gavin Newsom said that he supports a ban on smartphones in the school, so they're not scrolling during the day. So there's a little bit of positive momentum here.
All right, let's do it. I would love if this continues to grow in some momentum to help for our young people. I'm hearing horrible things. I'm hearing a lot of the negative effects, and it's really heartbreaking.
He told ABC News, so kids who spend an average of 3 hours or more on social media per day have a doubling in their risk for anxiety and depression. And the average amount of use for adolescents today is 4.8 hours. So that is, the math there is not good.
No. So last week we had a little in memoriam of Françoise Hardy. This week another French icon passed away. Nicole Françoise Florence Dreyfus, also, well, most famously known as Anouk Aimée, passed away.
So she was sometimes called the French version of Jacqueline Kennedy because she had beautiful, striking features. She just had this enigmatic aura about her, of vulnerability and beauty, that made her an icon. The French culture minister tweeted on X, "We bid farewell to a world-famous icon, to a great actress of French cinema who took on roles for some of the biggest names, such as Jacques Demy, Lelouch, and Federico Fellini."
I saw La Dolce Vita, which I actually still have to see. I saw she's in that. She's also in 8.5 as the wife of the main character, which was fantastic. I have seen that. And actually, I didn't know it was her until this just mentioned it, because all of her photos are so striking. But in that film, they tried to downplay her beauty because I won't give a lot away, but the main character, male film director, perhaps something Fellini related to in this character. But this main character had a wife, a mistress, and another thing. So the wife wasn't supposed to look too striking. And so he sort of muted her look, but it was a fantastic job she did. And it's a beautiful, beautiful ending she's a part of. And I really love that film. Can't recommend it highly enough. She said, "Before I met Fellini, I didn't realize what acting was."
Yeah, she was in 70 films, last one in 2019. She was Oscar nominated for her role in A Man and a Woman, which was the best foreign language film in 1966 at the Oscars. So she really was an incredible talent.
I'll have to watch that. Well, these are some movies to put on your list then this summer. You're looking for something. Pick up 8.5 or A Man and a Woman. What great work she's left for us. Mm-hmm. May she rest in peace. If anyone listening got a couple emails, let me tell you, this week we send a couple more emails. We are about to give the address list to the printer for this Dreams issue, the summer issue, so to speak, but we are calling it the Dreams issue. And we want to make sure you're on it. I'm noticing a lot of our folks who've subscribed for the first year haven't renewed, and we hadn't make it. I apologize that we didn't make it very easy, because we are doing this in-house. We don't have a magazine subscription company running all of this at this part of it yet. We'd love to with the right funding, but right now we are just doing it in-house, and so we're trying to make it easy now. I actually emailed personally a lot of folks in the last few days. So if you got an email from me, it really was me, Mary Rose. And I sent you some options to resubscribe, to just keep getting the issues so you don't drop off by accident. We want to help you back on the wagon and make sure you're still part of our Verily community and not missing an issue. And in this issue, you're going to love it. We feature some dreamers, some nominated dreamers from our dreamer nomination contest we asked you all to participate in. We also have some excellent pieces. We just featured one on the website this week by Delphine Chu on her prolonged singlehood and what she learned. So you have to read that. That's a little sneak peek. But the rest of the issue, you got to get it in your hands. So check it out. Go to verilymag.com, click the print magazine thing on the upper right nav bar, and that's where you can see all the options to subscribe. It's either $60 a year or $5 a month. You got all these options. We're trying to make it work for you. And then the last thing is we are trying to clear out some of our past issues. So now all past issues this week only. Goodness, by the time you're listening to this weekend basically, is every last issue that is past is $5. So go to the verilymag.shop. Go to our Verily shop to grab those single issues. So if you're going on a road trip or going traveling, you want to pack light, you're going to find some good reading material in our past issues. It's still great. Alrighty, thank you for listening, and this wraps up your weekly voice message while you are out.